Hello and welcome to the Next 100 Days podcast. My name is Graham Arrowsmith.
And my name's Kevin Appleby. So today, Graham, we've got an expert at telling stories all about brand. And she's come all the way from Canada to talk.
Yeah, apparently.
All the way from Canada. She's still in Canada.
She's still in Canada. But the point is it's really early in the morning there and it's swelteringly hot. I don't know how they get so hot there because isn't it a bit like Scotland? They're on that kind of level, but but obviously geographically it's at the same level as Greece or something like that. That's why they're so hot there. But anyway, Shannon, welcome to the Next 100 Days podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to talking with you today. And yes, it is early morning and it is hot already.
You'll no doubt have air conditioning and things like that because the Americas they don't think anything about burning electricity just to cool their homes.
Well, I'm in Vancouver, and in Vancouver we don't have a lot of AC because it's only hot for about a week or two.
Oh, right.
In the year, and it just happens to be so that week.
Yeah, it was last week here for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So
our weather is more like your weather. Our weather is, Vancouver, it rains a lot. So we don't get much snow. We might get snow for about a week. And we also get weather for about a week.
I don't mean to be rude here, but I mean, if you had to say who is a really famous Vancouverian or whatever the name is, person from Vancouver.
Let's see. We got Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, yeah. We've heard of him. Yeah.
Bryan Adams.
Okay. Yep. All right.
Brilliant musician.
Yep.
No, you run out, haven't you? You've run out. You've only got two blokes there.
No. There are quite a few. It's really early.
You can't tell a story for Tuffy. I don't know why we've got you on. Anyway, Shannon runs a business called, I suppose it's just called Shannon Peel, but you've done some really interesting things with the Peel bit, haven't you? Tell us a bit about that.
So my last name is Peel, as you know, which is a noun and a verb. So I utilized it. And my company's name is MemberAPeel. I have a magazine called Appealing, a blog called UnPeeled, and a podcast called BrandAPeel.
BrandAPeel.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Wow. And
that's certainly using Peel.
Yeah.
And I for those of you that are watching the video of this rather than listening to the audio podcast, sitting behind Sharon's shoulder, just behind a chair, is an apple being unpeeled with the wording all over it. And I think that's very clever.
Yeah, it's better than our logo, Kevin, that you designed about 20 years ago. I mean, at the end of the day, I just think that's fantastic. Really, really nice brand.
Perhaps we ought to have a look at another logo, Graham. But
no, we won't. No, we'll just stick with the same one. Thanks very much. I mean, every 5 minutes, some companies change their logos, but no, Shannon, the whole idea that you're obviously a writer, a storyteller. Tell us what really drives you. What is it that makes you who you are?
Well, when it comes to story, I always want to dive in. Like, let's say you watch a movie and it's kind of based on a true story. I'm the kind of person that will stop the movie halfway through and then do a Google search to find out the real story.
Yeah. I found myself doing that last night. Annoyingly late on the BBC last night, they put on a decent movie, which is annoying because of all the trash they put on earlier in the evening. But the movie was Mary Queen of Scots. So I'm watching the movie and I'm doing exactly what you said. I'm in there Googling the actual proper story of Mary Queen of Scots.
Exactly. And looking for the story. And a lot of times I'll be watching something or reading something or even talking to somebody, and I'll be trying to figure out the deeper meaning, the deeper story, the symbolism, the what is it that we're really talking about when it comes to society and culture and how we interact, and why do we do what we do, and why do we behave? Why do we make the choices that we make?
There's an awful lot in that, but does it need to be true? A story?
No, stories don't need to be true. What I mean when I say dive in to find out more is I want to find out more because I want the deeper story.
Mm.
Even if it isn't based on a true story, I will Google to see if the author has, any added characterization or anything about the, like say it's a fantasy novel. I'll look to find the map and see if there's any blogs and find out more about the story.
You just want to be smarter than the next person sitting next to you. I know I got somebody in this house that's a bit like that, who will find out something that's going on and answer questions that I would never even have a clue about, actors and so forth. But the point being is that I like that curiosity. And isn't that really what sort of a bit like a stick of Blackpool rock that if you cut it'd say, Shannon is curious.
Very curious. Very curious.
So your clients then, when you talk to them, do you, I mean, obviously what you're trying to do is get to the essence of their story, yeah? Exactly. But they'll have lots of stories, won't they?
They will, and we all have lots of stories. But when so for example, if it's somebody who is, like there's people that go out and have pitch to VCs, and they have these things called pitch competitions, and I've been there, and they stand up to try to get people interested in their business. Well, they'll just blurt out everything. And it's just like they threw up all this information.
Yeah.
And I'm really good at picking through that and figuring out, okay, what is it you're really supposed to be telling? Because you should really start with who is your audience? What is your audience interested in? And then craft the story. And it can be a story it can be a personal brand story, or it can be what I call a business brand story, which is constructed differently, but both of them start with what is the audience interested in.
Would you create some sort of story to simplify an otherwise very long, very boring, deep presentation that a tech type person would do?
Yes.
And how do they overcome themselves to accept that your idea is better than theirs?
That can be hard because egos get in the way.
Mm.
And sometimes it's all about, hey, just go and try this, see what happens.
Mm.
This isn't the one and only time you're going to be telling the story.
Yeah.
So try it on this audience over here, see what they think. But let's come down with figuring out this is what the audience needs. Now, when you're doing a presentation, specifically, whether it's a sales presentation, a pitch for a VC, or you are trying to become the next vendor or whatever, you want to leave them with curiosity. You want to give them enough information that it sparks their curiosity, that they want to know more, and then you allow them to ask questions. And then they drive the story, not you. But the key is to already have those answers figured out before they answer the questions. So when they ask the question, you can concisely answer it.
And it's the question that's on their mind, and that's the very best thing that you can be talking to, because that's what's on their mind. So if it is, we've talked about this before, Kevin. I heard this phrase some time ago. I don't know who from where, so forgive me, but it was called story click, which is the moment in a film when you, I kind of figure out, I know what's going to happen now. There's that bit at the beginning when you're not, what the hell is this all about? And then you get to story click, which is this bit, which is maybe 5 minutes in, and you think, I know where this film's taking me now. Mm-hmm. I don't quite know where it's going to go, but I kind of know the general direction of travel. Is there a story click moment in any kind of presentation?
There should be, right in the first 5 seconds.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
A novelist, when I wrote my novels, one of the things that I really learned was that first sentence really matters.
Yeah.
And because it's basically the thing that says, hey, hello, come on in and enjoy my blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
But people are not going to come in and engage in your story if the first little bit is boring. or doesn't explain to them what the story is about. We've evolved into this ability to make decisions rapidly. Now, they say that we have the attention span of a goldfish, and I disagree. I think we do have a good attention span. What we have is a heightened ability to make a snap decision, and we decide whether or not we want to consume content or talk to somebody within a short period of time, and that time is getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
That's interesting. That is really interesting, because I'm looking at brands that are contacting me on LinkedIn by email, and there seem to be 4 or 5 a day. And I'm getting really conscious of, all they're trying to do is pitch at me. Got into a conversation on LinkedIn this morning with, actually, it was a guy from NetSuite. I had no intention ever of buying NetSuite, but he actually started an interesting conversation. So it lasted a bit longer. So I think if you're getting into a story, into something that is catching your attention, something that creates rapport, then you have a much, much better chance of staying engaged.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you brought up LinkedIn and the fact that people are just pitching. Because once again, they're not understanding their audience. They're not understanding where they are and what people are expecting from that experience. They're coming in with the what's in it for me. It's all about me. It's all about trying to get that sale. And they're looking for that low-hanging fruit. Don't get me wrong. I used to be in sales. I sold advertising. It's a numbers game. You put out there, a lot of those things are just bots. They're not actually doing anything. It's just their assistants are putting on information, or an automated system is, and then they're just conversing with those people that are actually interested. Now, but it's frustrating to people on LinkedIn who are there to build community, who are there to build connection, who are there to build relationships, because we want a different experience at the beginning. We want someone to say, hey, who are you? Why do I want to know you? Not, hey, this is who I am. This is why you need to know me. So business brand storytelling and LinkedIn is very business oriented, needs to be about you, and your stories need to be written not in the first person, but in the second person. And you use the story to narrow your audience and to qualify your audience before you even get to the pitch. So, you're starting out with, for example, I might write something. You hear people say, so what is it that you do anyway? You feel that your story is getting fractured on social media, and you're getting frustrated because no one really knows who you are or what you're about. Well, that's what I help people do. I help people figure out how to tell that story better. So if you are frustrated and you want to know more information about how to do this, contact me at. So it becomes about them, and then they're feeling like it's a pitch, but that's me. You're talking to me as a person.
So this is free advice for me, really. It's not really, but at the end of the day, some of my, I help connect people to high net worth individuals. So basically, and in particular investors, a lot of people come along, and I've had conversations today, same subject. And the thing that's always on the back of my mind is, how do I communicate with an investor in such a way that would actually enter the conversation that's already going on in their minds? What is it that, is there anything that you can sort of recommend that I or anybody else listening to this would do to actually start that and engage with that individual in such a way that they might connect it to something that's going on anyway, but B, they would think more of you?
I need to ask a couple of questions.
Sure.
So first off, where are you going and finding them at the beginning?
They might be people who are known to be high net worth, so that we might not know that they're particularly interested in an investment in property or an investment in, net zero or whatever. But basically, we know that they are capable of making those investments because they're frankly quite wealthy.
Okay, so you know that they're quite wealthy. You can do a bit of social. If they are
I might know their age. I'll know where they live. I know basically, I know some things about them.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get at. Is what do you know about them?
Okay.
So if you can figure out what you know about them, then you can utilize those indices, those details, to construct and craft your presentation or your story to their interests based on who they are as people.
Yeah.
For example, let's say, I use this example quite often, where let's say someone came up and said, "Oh, I want 30-something women in my target audience."
Yeah.
So I would maybe I'd start thinking about, how do I craft this story? Okay, well, 30-something single moms have kids.
Yeah.
What do they do? Well, let's say it's summertime. Let's put them in the backyard. There's a sprinkler. The kids are whining. Maybe they want ice cream. Well, I'm a single mom, which means that I'm running around doing everything. I don't have time to sit and enjoy a nice cool beverage on the deck. Or perhaps I'm sitting there and I just would wish I had somebody that could mow the lawn. And then I'd want to go and tell that story, especially if my client is a lawn care provider. So it's about trying to figure out what frustrations the audience have. What motivates them? What interests them? So if you're thinking about an affluent person, you have to think like an affluent person. What is it that an affluent person wants from an investment, and why do they want it?
Yeah.
And then once you've got that answer, then you can start constructing the story down based on those indices or those details about their life.
I like it. And at the end of the day, there's so many people being approached every single day with probably 2 or 3, to Kevin's point, possibly several a day, but more likely several a week, opportunities for them to use their hard-earned in the latest property investment or whatever it's going to be. And, how do they go about sifting through all those things? And I guess that's another story, though, isn't it? Because if you're regularly being hit upon, and let's just say you're the best looking woman in the bar, then you're going to get hit on more often. So, probably getting into the mind of that person as to how she's evolved ways of batting people away, but how she can pick out the right person for her.
Well, you got to think about, okay, so if she's a woman that's getting hit on constantly and hearing every single stupid line out there.
Yeah.
And you could take that analogy quite nicely into all the people that are pitching at us every day.
That's right. So what do they find? Why do they find that frustrating?
Yeah.
How do they feel about that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So using your woman in a bar analogy, she's probably frustrated with the fact that everyone only looks at her and sees the outside.
Yeah.
Right. So instead of going in with some stupid line, you go in with something that has to do with trying to figure out why she's there. What is it that she wants?
Yeah.
Talking to her as a person.
Yeah.
Maybe trying to figure out, okay, what's her values? Yeah. And what is she really smart? Maybe that's her value. Or maybe she is just there to get picked up. Maybe that's what she likes. So you have to figure out what motivates them first.
You mentioned the motivation thing before, and the the frustrations and the motivation. So it's really getting deep on the audience that you're serving. So presumably you have some techniques when you're going into a new company, you don't know anything about them, but frankly, it's the same. I mean, it's just, you're just applying the same rules to different scenarios. Are there some things that you can share with us that you would say, look, do it this way and you're more likely to get it right?
When I write a novel, I try to put myself in the shoes of my character and understand what's motivating my character in the fact that, okay, they're in this situation now. What kind of decisions would they make based on their value system? I recommend people understand themselves first, understand what their values are first, understand who they are so that they're able to really concisely tell that story, and that will attract people to them who have the same values, because we intrinsically trust people who share our values. We intrinsically trust people who are like us. And that's why story is so important and why personal branding is so important, because if all we see is our photo, that eliminates a lot of people. But as soon as you start telling people, oh, well, I'm also this and I'm also that, then all of a sudden they see these threads and they can pull on those threads and you can weave that tapestry. So the first thing is to figure out, okay, what kind of person am I looking for? What kind of values do they have? And if they have those, what behaviors tell me that they do? So when you know how you exemplify those behaviors in or exemplify those values in your behaviors and your choices and the things that you're interested in, then you're able to go and say, okay, well, this is what my target audience is like, and the choices that they'll make because they fit within this stereotype. Now, stereotyping is a very macro thing. This is not a micro thing. Everyone will have their own little details, their own little intrinsic behaviors. Yeah. But on a macro level, archetypes is what we usually call them. When you're looking at, okay, so are they hero type person? Do they value being the hero? Do they want to feel that they're rescuing or that they are the center of the story? Or are they more the servant person? Do they value being more of a servant leader and helping people, and they find more value or pride in the fact that they help somebody achieve something? So you figure out what's motivating them, and then you can craft the story. And hey, if you want more of this, then this is what you need.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm getting this because it's analogous to sort of copywriting, because effectively you almost have to drag them in, and then the story, the kind of connection in the sort of lead part of the letter, etc. But you drag them in with a headline. Or in the case of email marketing, which many people come to me, and many people out there will be using email marketing. The smartest people that I know say that, you spend more than half of the time that you're spending on the email just looking at the subject line. Mm-hmm. Why? Because, well, frankly, it's the thing that will determine whether or not they'll actually read what you've put below it. So it just seems to me that, and actually the smartest people probably talking about 80% of the time. So there's something there. And I suppose that speaks to exactly what you're saying, Shannon, this idea of, the deepest motivations and connecting to people. The thing is with an email, of course, unless you're really, really good, and then every single person on the email list, you don't know the difference between Kevin and Graham. I mean, Kevin's dog lover, Graham's not. So basically, well, no, that's not strictly true. I do quite like Poppy. She's a lovely little dog, but what I'm trying to get at is we are slightly different, even though we're similar.
So what I would recommend with email is, like you were saying, concentrate on the subject line. I actually would say no. You need to concentrate on your list maintenance.
Okay.
Now, there are programs out there that enable you to automate your email. And so I would create first I would figure out 4 topics or 5 topics. Like what is it that you're going to talk about? What are the things that people are interested in?
Yeah. And
you want to make sure that you use 1, 2, or 3. Then you craft an email about that item in each, like 4 or 5 emails about each item with the subject line very specific to that topic.
Okay.
Then you utilize the program to tag people who open that email.
Yeah.
Then you can go in and now you can start constructing emails and sending them to targeted, saying, okay, these people are interested in topic A. we're going to send that. Now, 3 or 4 months later, you do the 4 emails again to see if they're interested in something else as well as, and then they can be in all 4 buckets and receive 4 different emails. But now it's very specific. Like my email open rate is usually around 80%.
Yeah.
But that's also because I kick everybody out of my email that doesn't open.
But those are subscribers.
I don't want them. You have to pay for those. You have to pay for those people to be in your email, right?
Yeah, sure.
The more people that you have in your email list, the more you pay. So why do I want people in there that it's just going to spam or they're never opening up something? So I usually I do a run where if they don't open up for 6 emails, well, they get put into another bucket, and I take a look at them and toss them.
Yeah, but they got to you because they're kind of interested in what you had to say to start off with. Right. But after a while, they kind of, they moved on to the next interesting thing. They're now on Kevin's list, and they're now listening to stories about dogs and God knows what.
Well, then you put them onto another list, and then you just don't message them for a few months, and then you can put them back in and then see if they re-engage later on. Right. But that way you're making sure that you're being more effective with your list, and you're getting people's attention, because a lot of times we'll just see something that comes in. Oh yeah, I know what that is. I know what that is. I know what that is. And then they don't hear from you for a while. It doesn't register to them. And then all of a sudden they see you again. Oh, I want to know what they're talking. Where have you been?
Yeah. I like that. I don't know about you, Kevin.
That's an interesting tactic. And actually it's very, very relevant to what I'm looking at the moment, and completely refreshing what we're doing with email right now, because we're probably sending out an email once a week with, here's all the events coming up. Well, we made a big change a couple of weeks ago and really changed the format of the email. I think that some of the people opening an email, they see, it might have a load of different information for last time, but they scan it and they say, this looks very similar to what I saw last week. Back, close it, delete. We found a huge effect by changing what was in the email. The click rate doubled, which was fantastic. But no, we're aware that we're actually not using email properly. We're not tying it in properly to people's interests or what people need to find out about. So big project about to go on at the moment that's really going to try and segment the list.
Well, a lot of people, when I talk about this, the biggest pushback I get comes from, they might not be interested, and then all of a sudden they are. And it's that fear of missing out. And then you have to say, okay, well, what's more important to you? What's the KPI that's more important to you? Because that fear of missing out, they're not engaged with you. Right. They're not all of a sudden going to become engaged with you because they see something. We have to see something, back in the day, it was 5 times. You had to see something before you registered. Then it was 7 times. Now it's over 11 times that you have to see something before it even registers in your mind. Which is why we're getting the same email over and over and over again. Well, when that happens, that's where you get a lot more unsubscribes, and then you've lost them. So how can you maintain your list and utilize your list without annoying them, without berating them? Like a lot of email marketing information or gurus out there, in my opinion, especially in the ClickFunnels world, it's a numbers game to them, and they're just pushing us. But once again, it's all about them. It's all about, hey, we need to get you to our webinar. We need to get you to click on this so we can buy this. It's not about the person that's getting the email. It's not giving them any value, because all it is a marketing email. And eventually people will tune out, or they will just delete without opening. Now, here's the thing that a lot of people don't know, is that these email programs like Gmail and Outlook and all of that, they're giving your email domain a ranking, a rating, a reputation. And if most of your list isn't even opening up the email they're just deleting it, that affects your reputation and whether or not you'll end up in a spam.
So and some of them richly deserve it. Because it's completely irrelevant. And I must be the king of unsubscribe. I mean, unless it absolutely talks to me, it's an unsubscribe, because I just don't want the time loss. Time's the most important thing. Because I mean, Kevin's a little bit younger than me, but the truth is, it's like, well, that's all I've got, time. And I'm damned if I'm going to waste it on somebody's damn fool email. However, that's me being grumpy. And
I'm getting fed up at the moment of all the people that seem to think that, oh, this looks like a business email, I'll stick them on my list. GDPR doesn't apply.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm getting a load of stuff that I am not in the slightest bit interested in, never subscribed to in the first place. And as far as I can see, the whoever's sending it has no real reason to be picking me out.
But the interesting thing that I've noticed in the last few months, I don't know if you've got this in Canada as well, Shannon, but they send another email and it goes, I don't know if you saw my last email. I'm just doing a little, I'm just circling back. And when they start using phrases like that, I just think, get me my gun.
There's a new one.
There's
a new one. There's a new tactic that people are using. It is called the oops.
All right.
Oops. I made a mistake. Oops. And it's a fake oops. They didn't actually make a mistake. They made a mistake, but they made it on purpose, so that they could send you the oops email, because the oops email gets more opens than the original email. But you know what? If people are opening it and it's still not applicable to them.
I get it. I'm sure that they're perfectly nice people and all the rest of that. But I'd still get my gun and shoot them all. But I don't think I don't think we're allowed to do that over here, but I still want to.
Yeah, they do that south of just about an hour.
Well, yeah, but they don't have any police there, though, do they? I mean, they've defunded the police in Seattle and that radical.
Yeah, but it's kind of an interesting experience, because I used to live right by the border.
Oh, right.
And a block from the border.
Oh my!
So I would go over to get gas and groceries and everything. And the first few times I went over, it was so weird to see people with signs outside saying "guns for sale." And then you go, you're networking with someone down there, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm off to the gun show." Okay, this is just not.
No. Well, you're not allowed to do anything in Canada nowadays. But having said that, I won't go into that. Your premier is obviously he's been eating the wrong kind of vegetables, I think.
Our prime minister, I don't get it. Do you get it? I mean,
you can put it this way: you can keep him. We don't want him here. Did
you just have an interesting one for a while?
Yeah, well, I do you know what? I wouldn't have got rid of him. I just thought he did an okay job, and he might have dropped the ball every now and again, but so we all do. But anyway, it's just his life. But we move on. Quite like having another female prime minister. About you, Kevin? It'd be nice to have Liz as our prime minister, but we don't know that yet. So by the time this goes out, or if you're listening to it in a couple of years' time, you hate her already.
Yeah, but I'm not going further into politics here. Let's just say that the candidate that I would have voted for has already been knocked out by the MP.
Yeah,
and great candidates left.
Yeah, no, well, that's true. Okay, well, we are getting too much in, but we telling a story about politics, but we don't want to do that. We were thinking about whether there's anything in particular that we should be thinking about when we're marketing to affluent people. So effectively, whatever it is, whether it's a brand or a high-end audio system, or whether, whatever it's going to be, are there any particular rules? Because you are talking about people who are different in the sense that, they've got probably a lot of things going on, a load of money coming in. Is there anything that you might want to think about to actually get through to them or cut through to them?
Well, you have to understand that they are overloaded by people trying to get their attention.
Yeah.
Absolutely overloaded. The chance of you actually, especially when it comes to email or anything like that, that you're not hitting up their assistant.
No.
Or somebody that they've put in place to do something is better as well. I would go out and see if they have a personal brand. If they have a personal brand, what are they interested in? What are they talking about? What charities are they involved with? When Google them, see where they are in the news. See if you can come at them kind of off their flank, kind of like sneak up on them by getting involved in the things that they're interested in and seeing, because once again, you're looking for those connections. You're looking for those things that they will say, okay, yeah, this person, I think I can trust them, because you're talking about, investing. And there is a huge, it's money. So whenever there's money involved, there is a unsavory group of people trying to get their money.
I know.
And they will go, okay, they're really good at ignoring things.
Yeah.
Even things that they think it could be the best deal in the world. Yeah. But if it isn't told to them right or constructed right or come at them in a way that gives them that feeling of trust, they're going to bat it away.
Sure.
I'm reading, actually, it's kind of funny because I'm reading a novel right now called 419, written by a Canadian out of Calgary. And it's about the Nigerian 419 scam. And it's really interesting to see how that world works, how the scammer's mind works, and figuring out because what they do is they are really good at getting details out of people and then utilizing those details to engage them and then build that trust, and in the process come up with asking them for money. And in the story that I'm reading, which is based on a true story, the scammer is actually going out and doing a lot of research online, finding out about them, figuring out where are they talking, asking questions on forums or in social media, engaging with them to get more details out of them so that they can then, when they come at them, they've got those indices, those details. So there's something that you can learn from scammers.
Yeah, with 300 and odd episodes in the bag, Kevin, we're an open book, aren't we? There'll be people in Nigeria rubbing their hands at the very thought.
Absolutely.
Yes, you have to be very careful out there. It's and affluent people are, smart affluent people are very careful about where they put their money and whom they trust. So it's very important that you have your own personal brand and you have your own story out there. So when you're connecting with them and trying to engage with them and they Google you, they can see, oh, this person is trustworthy because they've got all of this. Now, it's not just you telling the story. You actually have other people also, whether it's being part of the story. If you're a business, it's about writing reviews. If it's about a profession, it's about testimonials. You can talk about the different investments that you have, the different people, and then try and get people around you to engage with those stories so that them engaging with your story gives you credibility in that as well. See, I love to work in the authority credibility piece. I used to work in online reputation management. Very interesting place to work.
We found that podcasts, I don't know where you found this as well, but we've done some research in the past where for name recognition and when somebody's searching you, so I'll put Shannon Peel into Google, and because you're all over everywhere. I mean, there's probably pages of you.
5, 6.
But what might happen in the next few months once we've released this podcast, because of the authority of the next 100 days, and just because of the way in which we put this together, and it's authentic and all the rest of that, and Google seem to like us, they rank us for your name. Yeah. And so when we've looked at our guests in the past, it's over 80%, and it's probably over 90% when it comes to page 2. I mean, you can be on page 3 and nobody ever get there, but the point is page 1 or 2, to be ranked like that for most people that we've had is quite an achievement. But it wasn't. It didn't occur to us until probably about 200 episodes. Then we sort of did that, and we found, yeah, this is really working. I don't. But it's not so much working for us particularly. It's working for our guests.
Yeah, for example, I do a lot of SEO with my website, and so when I'm looking at who the keywords that drive traffic to my website, it's interesting to see how many people are searching for people that are on my, because I tell people stories on my site. So, how many people are searching for Anthony Gruppo, and Anthony Gruppo shows up on, I show up in number 5 or 6 on page 1.
Yeah.
And then my site gets traffic that way. And then my brand is associated with Anthony, whom I also had on my podcast.
Got you. It seems to work then, doesn't it? I mean, and let's face it, with you, of course, it means that people are looking for the dirty on him because you're telling stories about him. And
actually, I really respect Anthony.
I know that. I'm sure if he's listening to this, he'll know that I've only just told. I'm winding you up. But the point, but the nice thing is that it's true for you, is true for us.
Yes, and it is. I found that I even started. Well, I started podcasting because my son encouraged me to.
All right.
And it fell apart, and then I started again because I noticed that the SEO when I went on to other people's podcasts got me good SEO. So I thought, well, I'm going to do a few episodes and see how that works for my website.
Sure.
And then I ended up doing 100 podcasts in 100 days. I don't recommend anybody do 100 podcasts in 100 days, especially with the amount of editing that I put into it. But it was good. And then at the end, I had 100 podcasts, and I totally disorganized. Like, you know how it works. You go in and it's just name after name and there's no search, right? So I thought, well, what am I going to do with these 100 podcasts? Well, I created a digital magazine in order to tell the stories of people that filled out the Q&A and group the podcasts into different buckets so that it made it easier for people who are interested to find these podcasts. And I find that a lot of my listenership comes through people hitting my website for a blog post or brand storytelling, and then they scroll down and they're listening to the embedded episode on the site,
right?
More than they're listening to it through something like Spotify or Amazon or Apple.
Yeah, I think the Spotify's and Amazon's and Apple are great for the current episode.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, if you're looking to get people interested in back episodes, the place that they will nearly always find you is the website. But I love that idea of categorizing your podcast by topic. And Graham, by the time this is published, we're getting somewhere near 330 episodes. Actually, I think
I think this is
already
334. I think, but
yeah. Maybe we ought to go back and start categorizing things by topic. Because
I think what Kevin means is maybe you should go back, Graham, and categorize things. Great one for giving work out, aren't you, Kevin? But no, we could do. Well, technically we do, because actually every person that we've got on will have keywords associated with them, because that's the way in which the web pages are sort of built, or the posts are built, and so it's kind of got it inbuilt, Kevin. Although I think we could probably do more tagging and do it cleverer in a more clever way. Maybe we'll have to hire some Canadian person who gets up early in the morning.
Let's just think though for a moment. We've got this podcast going out. It's two of us. We've got very separate brands between us. Graham, we're talking about his finely fettled business. He's dealing with high net worth individuals. We've talked about some of the investments that Graham tries to link his clients to potential investors in. What sort of brand story should Graham be telling? What should be up there front and center?
Well, let me ask Graham this one question. Graham, what is it that you want to be known for?
Oh, that's a very good question. I'd like to I would like to think that people can come to me so I can actually confidently put them in touch with an audience of affluent individuals who are ready and capable to buy.
Okay, so you want to be known as a connector.
Yeah, no, definitely, because basically I'm using media to do that, but I'm still confidently connecting, and I'm using other things as well. But yeah.
Okay, well, let's just, because this is really quick. I'm not really diving.
No, I like that. I'm going to change my website. Did you say connector? I'm on a connector.
So basically, what I would suggest is that you start telling stories about being a connector, about how you connect people. Even you write a post about what does being a connector mean? What is that? What is the definition of the word connector? Who do you know out in the celebrity world or in the business leadership world who is a connector, and why do you admire them? So you find words around and stories around this word connector. You become known as that connector.
Yeah, wow, I love it. I mean, that's the best bit. Thank you, Kevin. That's laid. You've got one of the world's experts on storytelling, and she's just changed my. I'm going to have to come up with a new logo.
We're right, and we've come full circle.
She listens as well. Have you noticed? She listens. She hadn't forgot that. But
that's something about stories, though. That's it. It's when you're trying to establish yourself. It's much more about listening to what the other person's saying, looking at what they want to talk about, and engaging on those things. It's not
understanding what they're interested in, and that's exactly what I've been trying to talk about. And look at you, got it.
I honestly, genuinely, thank you for that advice. I've never really seen myself in that way, but it is actually what I want. It's kind of what I do. But thank you for that. Going back to you and this amazing peel, do you have an UnPeel somewhere?
UnPeeled, yes. My blog is called UnPeeled.
So you're unpeeling. Yeah. Is there any other peels that we can think of, Kevin, that might actually help? Because she's quite limited with her vocabulary. I can see that, and she's probably not thought of all the peels, Kevin. But
that was Robert Peel that established the police.
Yeah.
Yes, and there is. I don't know. My aunt did some genealogy thing, and Robert Peel, and there's this picture. I don't know.
But you linked.
There's some kind of link there. I'm not really sure what it is, though. But yes.
I mean, you're a few generations away from them, but that's said, so there's decent chance that your family are from here.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny because I did a bit of the genealogy, and this is on my dad's side, of course, with the thing with the Peel. And once again, it's like cousin of, a few times removed. But on my mom's side, her grandmother was a cook to Queen Victoria.
Wow.
So,
wow.
On one side we have somebody having meals with Queen Victoria as the Prime Minister, and on the other side we have someone actually cooking those meals.
I don't know who said it, but recently I think they were roasting somebody and saying that. I think it was something to do with those blue-haired people who are complaining about everything in America, and he said, they're about 350 pounds, and it's about time they worked in a salad. And I just love that phrase about worked in a salad. Yeah. I should do a bit more salad myself, but the truth is, I was amused by that. Yeah. But when it comes to sort of, if you had to give us 3 more pieces of advice, or the top pieces of Peelian advice, what would it be? What would they be?
Well, first I would figure out what your 5 top words are. So figure out what your 5 top values are and core values. And I don't mean go and look at these buzzwords and these things that you would like to be known for, or those things that sound good and you think that people want to know for you. I'm talking about going to my website, and under MemberAPeel, the MemberAPeel menu is a webinar about values. And in there's a workbook for you where you can dive deep into who you are and find those 5 core values, and then write stories about how you exemplify those values. And
yeah, we'll link to that in the show notes. I mean, it's got a looks like a video of yourself, and you're just about to launch into something.
yes.
And so yeah, that's.
I'm going over there to look at that for a completely different reason. I'm building a strategy course at the moment, and one of the things that I want to emphasize at the start of that is getting the values of your business, values of individuals aligned. And I'm really, really interested in how you take an individual through that process of getting them to realize what their values are. So
yeah, it's well, I know, like, when I do the process with people and in my programs or in my coaching, and I ask them the question, what do you want? Like, what are your values? And then I go, okay, so define that for me. And right there, if they're deer in the headlights, you know that they don't even know what the word means. That's not their value. If they can answer that question, and then you go, okay, so tell me about a time when you exemplified that in business, and tell me about a time when you exemplified that in your personal life. And they go, oh, I don't have no idea. And they can't even, like, after trying to come at it from 3 different directions, they still can't come up with an idea. It's about, okay, so that isn't your value. Let's dive deeper into finding out what your value is and where does that value come from. So, for example, hard work is a generational Peel value, to the point where my daughter, when she went to go work at the resort near my parents' cabin, she stayed with my parents. And on her first day, my mom looked at her and said, okay, you're going to work. You're a Peel, so you need to work hard, because that's what we do and that's what we're known for. So make sure that you don't ruin the family value, the family reputation. Yeah. Now, my parents worked hard. My grandparents worked hard. I work hard. My kids work hard. My mom didn't really need to say that, because this is an ingrained value from family. But there are values that we get in life that come from other things and not just our parents. So when you're diving into it, you have to really dive into, why do I have this value? Where did it come from? Do I really want this value? And what does it mean to me? And once you get that granular, then you're able to come up with stories really, really easily, because you're able to see them. You're able to see all those threads that I love finding in other people's lives.
Wow, podcast gold. You've just heard some absolute I think we could have you back several times and we'd never get bored. Well, I probably would get bored, but at the end of the day, but seriously, that was fantastic. I mean, there was almost a catch in your voice, because it means so much to you.
Yes, values are very important.
Yeah, and
there is a penny that's dropped there, Graham, that says, hang on, if these really are your values, then you can think about times that they've applied. There's a story around every time that's applied. Those are the stories then that are the things that you should be talking about around whatever brand it is you're putting across. Exactly.
And once again, so there's 2 different ways of doing this. So there's your values, and there's also what you want to be known for. Yeah. And if you can figure out what those words are, what those key words are, then that's what you write about. That's what you talk about.
Wow.
And that's what you get Googled for. And you start showing up when people are searching for it.
Genuinely, we could stay here for the rest of your day and the rest of our evening. But
I'm already melting here. As you can tell, I keep going.
Are you? Oh, I didn't know. I just thought you were kind of sweating too much for some reason. You know.
Oh, but it's 8 in the morning and it is hot.
Is it really?
Yes.
Well, it's a bit overcast here, to be honest with you.
Here as well.
Please send it our way. Please send it our way.
It's only 18 degrees here, so.
Yeah, please send that our way. I don't know what it is here, but it's definitely close to 30 already.
Wow, that is amazing. Shannon, you've been an absolutely brilliant guest, and thank you so much for being a guest on the next 100 Days podcast.
Oof, storytelling. That's a big, big subject, isn't it? Shannon's shown us that there's so much to it today.
Yes, there's a lot of detail. It's worth, this is your first time listening to the show, if you've picked up all of the things that Shannon said, then you're a genius, because to be honest with you, she said so many different things. So I think it's certainly worth listening to this again, because there's so much going on. And what I would do is I'd head over to her webpage. And I think all you have to do is start with her name, shannonpeel.com, and then you'll get through to all the other sub brands, etc. But that's something that you can do to connect to her. But she's been telling us that she's worked for people in the UK. So, and she's on the sort of the west coast of Canada. So she's somewhat behind, and in terms of the day, if you're over here in the UK, but she can work with people in the UK.
Yeah, but I think I'm taking away probably three things there, Graham. It's A, spend some time to make sure you know what your values are.
Yes.
And if you think you've got some values and you can't tell some stories around them, well, they're probably not really your values. Secondly, figure out what it is you want to be known as. And I thought that was a great example when Shannon bounced on you being a connector, Graham.
Yeah.
Probably connector applies to me to some degree as well.
No, I think it does.
Know that. Third one is know what it is you need to talk about to your audience to get them to trust you. If you bring those three things together in the stories you're telling, I think you've got a winner.
I think you have, and I think it's just all the guests that we've got. They give us such great reviews because they enjoy themselves and they don't feel pressured, and they do pick up on the fact that we're like, I don't know, two old curmudgeonable. Oh God, I don't know what the right word is, but two blokes who've seen plenty, but nonetheless, I have to say, Shannon has been an absolutely rip-roaring guest, and I'm sure at some stage in the future we'll invite her back, because I think there's so much there, and I think storytelling is something of its, because it's not just about emails, and we did talk about emails. It's content, it's LinkedIn, it might be direct mail sales letters. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, you're telling your story everywhere.
Yes, very much so. But the roots of it, as you were saying, the roots of it, about the motivations and the frustrations and the what will you be known for, etc., and what can you substantiate about yourself. Very, very important. I took a note to the Nigerian 419 scam. Not quite sure what that is, but it's certainly worth a Google to find that out.
I can imagine, and I was nearly taken in by a scam that was apparently from the fraud department at my bank.
Oh yeah,
they were very, very clever in trying to make you trust them, trying to make you feel as though they were genuine, the fraud department, trying to make sure that you knew that they were on your side. Well, no, what they were after at the end of the day was you to put through a fraudulent transaction, because they were trying to get you to catch somebody in their bank out.
It's very sad, and I think maybe it's an age thing, but I was caught, but fortunately I caught my wife caught myself. But basically, I got a text saying something about the China virus. It had to have another jab or something or other. And the point being is that I kind of fell for it, and that I had to, spend 20 quid or something. No, not 20 quid, maybe £1 or something to get some new. Whatever it is from the government, nothing to do with the government. And of course, I don't listen to the news anymore. I just basically just sent it off. Then my wife later on said, no, stop. So we got in touch with the bank, and the transaction was stopped, etc. And so they didn't have time, fools them, to actually follow up on their original scam. But they did ring me subsequently. And, I called them out.
Learn from the stories that those people are telling.
I'm honestly, the people doing that are probably the lowest of the low. I mean, you kind of got murderers and rapists and all the rest of that, and then you got the scam artists beneath them. I mean, they really are the low because they're picking on the vulnerabilities of people. So, let's hope they all burn in hell. But anyway, on that cheery note, today I've been Graham Arrowsmith.
I've been Kevin Appleby. Goodbye.
Goodbye.